When DBZ ended in Japan, Dragon Ball GT followed pretty soon after, but in China it was completely different. They adapted this manga and that was their sequel to the end of Z. This is Dragon Ball Zeroverse, a story that takes place 3 years after the Dragon Ball Z ending. Now, Dragon Ball Super hasn't gotten to this part in their story yet. Every episode they do gets closer, but this is after the end of Z. The story starts by showing how the end of Z tournament actually ended, because since DBZ ended, we never got to see who actually won the tournament, and it goes how most people would have expected it to, with Majin Buu beating everyone, only to lose to Hercule in the finals. But this is all building up to the real story, which, ironically enough, starts at the next Tenkaichi Budokai. This is 3 years later. We see changes where Goten is now taller than Trunks, Krillin is now starting to get old and have grey hair, Pan is growing up, but the one thing that hasn't changed and never will change in any Dragon Ball story is Goku showing up late. Gohan says that Goku talked to him earlier and that he is coming with a boy that he's been training for the past 3 years. As usual with every tournament, Hercule is there and going on about how good he is, and it's his usual plan. Majin Buu is going to beat all the contestants, or at least that's what he thinks, and give Hercule the free win at the end. Now, Vegeta's the first one to realize that Goku hasn't shown up yet, and while everyone else is signing up, Vegeta says that if Kakarot isn't turning up, then there's no point for him to sign up, which I think's a nice touch. It stays in Vegeta's character, but when Goku arrives, he isn't there alone. Oob is 3 years older, although he does look the same, but this isn't Toriyama's artwork, so I guess we can be a little bit lenient. And Goku says that they just finished up training at Kami's Lookout, so I guess the hyperbolic time chamber. Now, compared to what we're seeing in Dragon Ball Super, Kami's Lookout is nothing if you're looking to get really strong, but like a lot of Dragon Ball interpretations, this was made before Super, so Goku doesn't have Ultra Instinct or anything to pass down to Oob. Now, here's where things start to get a little bit more interesting. When Oob shows up, Majin Buu immediately senses him, but not just him. He feels something deeper, something that makes him unsettled, and so Majin Buu makes a note to himself to stay away from Oob or things could go bad. This leads into the final 16 for this tournament. There are a lot of new faces, but for right now, the most important ones are Oob and Majin Buu. Now, I skipped over this, but a few pages earlier we see this. This is where the plot starts to heat up. Someone who shares an almost identical resemblance to Babidi is watching this tournament with his assistant, and this goes back to the weird feeling that Majin Buu had when he first saw Oob. When they start selecting the fighters bracket, Vegeta asks Majin Buu to put him up against Goku in the very first round, but Buu realizes that if he does that, the only spot left for him would be up against Oob, so he ignores Vegeta, and in the first round it will be Goku vs Oob. The reason Majin Buu doesn't want to get close to Oob is because he felt Kid Buu inside of him, and he doesn't want to have to deal with that again. Eventually, Goku and Oob's fight starts, and even after 3 years of constant training, Goku is still using this time to build up Oob as a fighter. He's giving him tips, telling him when to block, and saying that he should release his energy for the split second right before he hits. Goku is still teaching Oob, and again, I like that touch to his character because that's exactly what Master Roshi told Goku. Goku doesn't enter these tournaments to win. It's a way to challenge himself, and now he's passed that on to Oob. Going back to the guys who are watching this tournament from afar, it turns out that one of them was actually Babidi. It wasn't his son, it wasn't a mutation, it was the real him. Later in the story it goes into how he was brought back to life, but for right now, he is just observing Goku and Oob's fight, and once they begin to get serious, that is when he goes in. And you can see the effects that as the fight goes on, Oob is slowly turning insane. You can see it in his eyes, and he is pushing back Goku to his absolute limit. Oob is transforming. Piccolo even says that his ki has changed. He is no longer the pure reincarnation of Kid Buu. He has been transformed into Majin Oob. So that was about the first volume and a half of this story. It is 100% complete, but it is long, so if you want me to go through the entire thing telling the story of what happened after the end of Z, or at least how the Chinese perceived it, let me know, because this is only one of the many things that could have happened after the end of Z, and since we're not going to be getting a Dragon Ball Super episode after this week because it's New Year and there's never an episode on New Year, but thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of the story and if I should keep going, and I'll see you in the next